Hello and welcome to Miss Checkpoints, the video game book club podcast. We're back at it again in 2021. This is the first bonus cast of the year. I'm your host Marcus, and joining me today, as always, is the homie Trevor.
You know why I'm here.
And we also have this is his choice. We let him choose the game, and I will kick it off to him. But what's up, Dante? How you been?
You're letting me begin again?
I'm letting you begin again.
Oh, snap.
All right. It's your game, so I'll let you introduce it, and I'll let you get to it.
Sounds good. Well, the first game that Miss Checkpoints is talking about in 2021 is Sayonara Wild Hearts. And Sayonara Wild Hearts is an on-rails music action video game released in 2019 by Swedish developer Simogo. It was developed by Annapurna Interactive, who are known for publishing many prestige indie titles over the years. Some of Simogo's previous works include Device 6 and Gear Walk, the former of which received a Metacritic of 92, placing it as one of the highest rated mobile games of all time. So development of Sayonara Wild Hearts began in 2015. Simogo's initial idea for this game essentially came from the idea of navigating tarot-inspired dreamscapes on motorcycles. And in the beginning, the music for this game, the soundtrack, it was planned to be inspired by surf music, which is like apparently a variation of rock, but ultimately changed to pop as development progressed. It drew inspiration from many modern pop sensations such as Sia, Churches, even though they put a V in their name, and I think that's really dumb, and Carly Rae Jepsen. Sayonara Wild Hearts was designed with the idea that it should be playable by anybody. As such, they decided to make a single-button game. So at one point in development, third-person sections were considered, where the player would have full control of the heroine, but ultimately this idea was scrapped because it changed the overall pacing of the game. So they stick entirely to the on-rails mechanic the entire time. The game was designed as designed to be like a concept album, where essentially it was designed to be played in a specific order and tell a cohesive story. Sayonara Wild Hearts is also described by the developer as a pop album video game. It's an on-rails experience, and it synchronizes the gameplay and the music into one cohesive package. Each level is backed by a specific song. Player must navigate the dreamscapes in front of them, avoiding obstacles and grabbing collectibles along the way. The game requires only two types of input from the player, direction and action, so literally you're just moving left, right, up, down, whatever. And also you have essentially an action button, which could be any of the face buttons on your controller or device. The art style for this game adheres to three simple concepts: simple, stylized, clean. Rather than relying on textures for detail, it employs a hyper-angular version of cell shading. It uses bright neons and also vivid gradients to express tones, emotion, and ideas. The environment reacts to the music bound to it, coming together to create a unified portrait. The music has a large effect on the stage's tone, and despite being a single-button game, mechanics shift significantly between worlds. The how of the navigation changes, keeping gameplay fresh throughout the experience. Sayonara Wild Hearts is the length of a standard pop album, more or less, and it can be completed in about an hour. That being said, it will probably take most players about twice of that if they, replay the occasional stage, try to get gold ranks. I'd say it'd probably take about 4 to 5 hours if you're trying to 100% it for the most part. Okay, so the story in this game is a little metaphysical. So Sayonara Wild Hearts is a story about heartbreak, but it's abstracted in certain ways. So the premise is, in a universe ruled by the tarot cards, a cursed arcana known as death, along with their allies, causes havoc and essentially it steals harmony from that universe. Before the other Arcana fade away, a heroine is created from the fragments of the world. In a separate world, a young woman is she has her heart broken violently, and ultimately is transported over to the Tarot realm. And her heart ends up merging with the one created by the Arcana, and she becomes the heroine that we play, later known as the Fool Arcana. And as a Fool, the player has to navigate the realms and try to collect hearts to restore harmony to the land. Okay?
Is that it?
Yep.
Appreciate the intro. Yeah, I think you covered like damn near everything, dude. Talking about. So, what was it about this game? Why did you suggest playing this game?
So, every year I do a Game of the Year list for my blog, which has been put on hiatus for the past 2 years for certain reasons. But I got to this January of last year, technically before I published my 2019 list, and after I played it, it kind of changed everything. I'm like, oh man, the ranking of everything has changed, and I need to tell more people about Sayonara Wild Hearts and all these other games. So ever since then, I've been pretty passionate about just recommending this game, like in general, like to people that don't play games, people that really like pop music, people that just kind of want a simple experience. And we talked about bonus games, and I was thinking, well, this one's short, came out fairly recently, but not like within the past year, and I would really like to hear your opinions on it because you have a pretty big history with music games.
Gotcha. Did you end up? Would you consider this game? I guess you said it left such a strong impression. Would you consider this game like in your top whatever games, or is it just like something a recent game that has left a really good impression, and maybe you'll have to wait and see if it's a lasting impression?
So, at the very least, I can say that it is at least top 3 of my games of 2019, and I'm still kind of settling on that list because I'm just now getting around to finishing that article.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this game a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you, but yeah, I could see it being definitely in my top 100 games of all time, potentially in my top 50.
Have to have a little bit more time between its release and just to let it sit with you.
Yeah.
One last question: is this the second time you've played it since you've initially played it, or have you played it a couple more times since then?
So this is my second time playing it back to back. Like, occasionally I'll just have the urge when I boot up my Switch or whatever, just to be like, oh man, Sayonara Wild Hearts, remember that? Let me just play like 2 levels of it.
Vibe out.
So, exactly.
Okay. So I'm guessing, like you said, you played this on Switch then?
Originally I did play it on Switch. I did end up actually... I got it on Steam.
No shame.
And I also, because they did a limited run of the game, I am 8-bit, I ended up getting the physical edition on PS4.
Okay.
So, and, we were talking a little bit before we actually started recording, but this game has kind of extended out past just like being a game for me, where when we used to actually go to gyms and stuff, remember that? I would actually have this the soundtrack play in my headphones as I was on the treadmill for 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So
well, cool, appreciate it. I'm glad that we are gonna be able to talk about this game because you said you wanted to hear our opinions on it. Trevor, what about you? What did you end up playing this on, and why was it Switch?
When this game was chosen, it was currently on sale on Switch, so that's why I picked it up on Switch. Well, it may have been on sale on Steam too, but
it was. I think it was on sale. They've done I feel like Nintendo, or just I would say game company, like these platforms have done a good job of price matching or making
Yeah.
sure that they're listing games on sale if they're on sale on Steam. More often than not, they're on sale on other platforms as well, which I don't
Yeah.
think was a thing like at least the beginning of last gen. I feel like it's been a more recent.
Yeah, usually
Yeah.
if it's on sale on Switch, that's the one I'm gonna go with. So,
Even though it was free on Apple Arcade,
well, I don't have a Apple Arcade yet.
you don't.
No,
It's not bundled with all that other nonsense they got you
I haven't I haven't subscribed to it yet.
I see.
Because I don't think Fitness Plus is out yet, and that's what I'm waiting for. Like I'm waiting to get the entire suite of apps before I buy into it.
Fair enough.
Okay, so should we start with the music?
Well, I have one question for y'all before we get started.
Sure.
Have y'all ever had a tarot reading?
I have not.
I have not either.
I haven't. I was just curious.
I always see those like places on the side of the road or whatever, and I'm like curious, but at the same time never that curious.
The closest I ever been was literally our freshman year of college. We took a big group to go to eat at this Chinese buffet, and we parked in the tarot card reading parking lot next door, off of Jordan. I think you came with us, Dante. I don't know if you remember, but it was like our big group. I think we took 2 cars and we got Chinese buffet, but we parked in the tarot, the psychic reading parking lot next door to the Chinese buffet.
I don't remember that, but what I do remember is somebody tried to use a Ouija board and you were not about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I ain't about that life, so ain't gonna catch me slipping. So I guess before we talk into music, you want to know, or you know our history about music games, but maybe other people don't. So I guess we can start with you, Dante. What is your background with music games?
Well, I'm trying to think about how it started. I really guess Guitar Hero might have been. No, it was Parappa. Parappa the Rappa was my first music game.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything just went downhill. I'm just joking. So no, I started with Parappa, and I don't even think I recognized it as a music game at the time, just because it was such a novel idea.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually the original Guitar Hero came out, and I'm like, oh well, this seems interesting. So I eventually picked up a copy, and got pretty decent at it. Then eventually Rock Band came out, and oddly enough, me and Marcus, our first meeting was a Rock Band night at orientation at college.
Yep.
So, in some ways we can attribute the podcast and everything else to Rock Band.
Yep.
But I guess music games aside from that, I've always been a fan ever since that era of music games. So I've done some
meeting.
of that chance meeting. So I've done some of the dance games. I've done Rez. I've done. It's weird called Tetris Effect a music game, but it kind of is. So yeah, it's just a genre I really enjoy.
What about you, Trevor?
So when I was younger, I used to go to the arcade a lot. It's not around anymore.
How did I forget about it?
It was at a mall that's no longer even there anymore. It's all gone. My childhood.
Parkway or the
Madison Square.
Madison. Okay.
Yeah, this is a long time ago. Used to go to the arcade a lot. Played Initial D, and they had this game called Dance Dance Revolution. Oh boy.
Yep.
I was terrible at it. So I stayed on Initial D. I played a couple other games. I think I played Soul Calibur. But yeah, I was never good at Dance Dance Revolution. But I had some friends who were, and I mean, they would be in the arcade for hours. They were the ones who used to come in there with a backpack with a change of clothes in it, because they knew they were about to get sweaty.
When was this? Like, how were you middle school?
High school. I'm pretty sure I was high school.
Okay.
But I mean, I had been going to that arcade since I was in like middle school.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I don't think DDR got popular until I was in high school. At least I didn't notice it. But yeah, they had some guys in there who would be working it out. Seriously, like they were in a gym or something.
I've got to backtrack a little bit and say that yes, I was into that scene. Not nearly as much as like, hey, I have a backpack of clothes type of people, but I was into it, and it ultimately culminated last year with me getting a metal pad for DDR.
Okay.
Oh, you mean as opposed to like the plastic ones that come that
will just shift all over your floor?
Yeah.
Yes.
He said, "I'm not in an apartment no more. I can do what I want."
Yep.
But I think that was my first introduction to rhythm games. I'm trying to think. I think that was either Rock Band or Guitar Hero 2. But, college, everybody has a wild experience in college. You get introduced to some weird things, and that was when I got introduced to Rock Band and Guitar Hero. I think my roommates were playing it at the time. They had Guitar Hero. And then I remember going to the dorms with Marcus and a couple of other guys and, playing Rock Band every other night.
Yep.
But I think that's pretty much it as far as like rhythm games go. I've never been into any of the kind of less popular ones.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I was curious what age you guys were because I was living overseas in Germany in middle school, so I remember on the military bases, the bowling alley was where they had arcade machines, and I would see seemingly older kids whenever we'd go to a different base, and seeing all these kids playing this dancing game, but I had no idea what it was, but I always was like super, like this looks really cool, but I have no idea, and there was like no way I was gonna like hop on, after watching them and then them watching me and then embarrassing myself. So I never played it until I think I was spring break my junior year. We went to DC for my birthday, and the hotel or whatever we stayed at had an arcade, and they had a DDR thing, and there was nobody that was using the arcade area. So me and my brother ended up playing DDR for the first time there, and it was like really cool. And I was like, damn, I wish I had gotten into this when I was younger. And I think honestly that was probably my first time ever playing a music game. And I think kind of like Dante had said, I got introduced to Guitar Hero from like going to see my cousins for like holidays and whatever, and they were playing this game, and I had never heard of it or seen it or anything like that. And I heard of it, but I never played it. And I think it was Guitar Hero 2 they had, and I ended up playing that and really liking it. But then I was 100% like either listening to rap or like techno. I was not into rock music at all. So I was just kind of like, this is kind of cool, but I don't know any of these songs or any of this stuff. And when I heard Rock Band was coming out and you could play like other instruments, that really sparked my interest, because like I always was interested in learning to play drums. So even if it was like a genre of music that I really wasn't familiar with, it was an opportunity to kind of scratch that desire to like be able to drum. And I got really, really heavy into Rock Band, and that was like the end of my high school going into college. So I was like, I got all my friends together every Friday night, and we'd play Rock Band for hours, as these two can attest. And I was pretty much, that was like my music game of choice. I think Dante in college had introduced me to, was it like Audio Surf?
Yes, I actually forgot to mention that one.
Oh,
where it automatically generated like the level for you and stuff.
So you could choose whatever song you wanted, and I thought that was really awesome because, I had been used to playing like only rock music, which was like I at that point, after playing Rock Band so much, I started getting into rock music and listening to it. But after like knowing that there's games out there that you can just choose the song, so I could listen to the rap music or the techno or whatever that I wanted to listen to, and like have highways and everything for it, was really cool. And then they made the perfect game for me like a couple years later with DJ Hero, and I got really, really into DJ Hero. for a while, and I started branching off. I think I played. I didn't play the original, but I really really like Child of Light, or excuse me, Child of Eden.
Yep.
I didn't have the game the Connect version, so I played it with the controller. But I like, you guys were talking about music that you like listen to outside of the game. I listened to that soundtrack heavy, and another, I would say, pseudo music game that I was into, thanks to Dante again, was Shatter. That was a game that I actually thought about doing as a bonus cast, but it's kind of like an alleyway style game. But the music in it it has a twist, but the music in it is really really good. And yeah, I think I got into Rock Band Blitz, obviously. So I don't know. I really really dig the genre, even if it's like not something that I play on the regular. I have like a soft space in my heart for music games.
Wasn't there one you had on a list at one point?
Well, Cadence, not Cadence of Hyrule, the Crypt of the Necrodancer.
This was a while back.
Well, let me see. Crypt of the Necrodancer is one that I've been trying to get us to play for a while, but neither of these, Greg or Trevor, would ever vote for it. But now we're playing the Cadence of Hyrule, which I'm not salty about. Let me check to see my old list.
I guess in the meantime, I'll say that I've gotten into VR music games, which has been really cool. So Harmonix, which is one of like the big music game studios or whatever, they have a game called Audica, which essentially you have two pistols and you're like shooting at these very hyper stylized targets to the beat of the music and stuff. That's been a lot of fun. What's the other game I play a lot? Like
the game, Trevor, was Thumper. I've been trying to get these guys to.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys are music fan haters, apparently. At least Trevor and Greg are.
I had forgotten about AudioSurf, like, until you mentioned it, because I remember, like, somebody told me, like, you can import your entire, like, library into that, and I had at that time I had a huge iTunes library, and so I got AudioSurf just so I could do that, and I would play this, my music through there.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just something I've always been into. Obviously, it's like I've always liked music, and I know when we were in college, like I got really into like just listening to music and whatnot, and a lot of indie games had like banging soundtracks back then, like Super Meat Boy, and I really like the VVVVVV soundtrack, and like just other games, and I would like listen to those outside of their games, and just being able to like download those soundtracks and play them in AudioSurf was really cool. And like one of the things that I used to do a lot was like either fall asleep with music going, or like have some type of equalizer or visualizer on the screen in a dark room listening to like music and just vibing out. So like that's always been something I really enjoy doing, and like I feel like music games are like a really, really like kind of like therapeutic almost for me, in a sense where it's like I don't, they're not necessarily games that I'm like trying to master. They're just games that I really enjoy playing, and they like help me mellow out, I guess you could say. I don't feel like I'm ever competing with people in the sense. And obviously you can. I did get like competitive with Rock Band and everything, but like...
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember you like frequenting Score Hero for a minute. So.
Yeah. Like I did, like, but that was something that I enjoyed, but like just I never like did it to the detriment where I no longer enjoy doing the thing just for fun.
That's fair.
Yeah. So yeah. We have a little bit of history of music games between the three of us. So I think this game is a great game to include amongst the list of games. I really 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 enjoyed the music in this game, and it's not something, if you were to tell me it was like a poppy, like I don't necessarily listen to pop music all that much,
right?
But like the music in this game really really hit me, and I think the accompanied with the visuals and everything, like I think you said it was supposed to be a visual pop music album or pop music video.
Right, and everything just kind of plays hand in hand so vividly. So like when I was on that treadmill, back when we could actually use treadmills and go to the gym without being like, murdering our neighbors or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, I actually kind of jumped back into that moment in the game, and I'd like actually have these very vivid like thoughts of, oh man, this is me on my little motorcycle in first person going through this thing.
Yeah.
So
It's really it's really cool too, because like when the color scheme of the game, it like, to me, it screams like the vaporwave kind of, like it's like the soft kind of pastel-y kind of like pinks and blues and and like, so I always think of like the vaporwave, like kind of more Hotline Miami and Katana Zero kind of music, and I feel like this is it's a lot more chill, and it fits it like really well, even though like when I was looking at the colors, I was thinking like this soundtrack is going to be banging, like really fast paced, and it really wasn't fast paced, but it still was like the music still banged.
yeah, like it's just legitimately good pop music. Where if like, in a world where the game didn't exist and I just heard something from this game on the radio, I'd be like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's not like, how you have music and then you have video game music?
Yeah.
This really just felt like music to me.
Yeah.
It feels more organic than like video game music. Sometimes video game music can feel like it's contrived, and it just has that really, I don't know, it's like really regimented, whereas this feels more organic and natural.
That makes sense. Like every song kind of had its like beginning, middle, and end. It wasn't just some looping 7 seconds of something.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I feel like video game music is a lot of times like the stuff that I like really like creates like a lot of times when I'm listening to video game music, it's like it has to be accompanied with some type of visual in order for me to get the entire experience. And like I did have a lot of moments, like you said, Dante, where you like listen to this on its own and like you put yourself in the situation of wherever it was played in the game. But I never felt like if I was listening, I didn't feel like I had to do that in order to enjoy the music. Where sometimes when I'm listening to video game music, it's like I can't differentiate, or I can't separate this from what it comes from. And I feel like this game, you can with the music, if that makes any sense.
It does. And like, I want to just reiterate that I like video game music, but
I think we all do.
yeah, I think we all do. But it's just different how it's employed here rather than in your standard game. And I think it just, if you just had quote unquote video game music in this game, I don't think it would have hit like it does, at least for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is crazy too, because like, I'm trying to think, it isn't like with Hotline Miami, they use actual licensed music. So it was already songs that were like out for consumption, and then they used that as the soundtrack for the game. And I feel like with this one, it was composed for the game, right?
I think that's the case.
But
in fact,
like,
I'm positive. Yeah.
I'm like, at least with me with Hotline Miami, it's like I can't not listen to those songs and not think of Hotline Miami, even though they weren't made for that as the original intention. And these feel like these were made with the intention of being in this video game, but like they don't feel like they're tied to like you have to experience this game in order to enjoy this.
I guess, what do you guys think about the art style in general? And is there any point of reference that you'd compare it to? Because in my mind, I kept saying, "Oh, this looks like a really, really like good version of those Esurance commercials that I hated." But I went online and looked at an Esurance commercial. I'm like, "Oh, that's not." It's similar in the fact that it's like a flat shading that it does, and I don't even know what you'd technically call that from like an artistic standpoint. But I really like the style of this game.
It's very typical of, or at least the colors are very typical of a rhythm game. I don't know if that's that has something to do psychologically with like how we perceive music and pressing buttons
to a time.
Yeah,
Time
but
sequences.
it has that, that neon, bright colors and almost the Tron look.
It does. How am I even trying to say this? Like, there's this white color that's pretty much like in every single shot of the game, but then there's also like you have your blues, you have your pinks, you have occasionally like a like fiery orange type of color. I'm trying to think about how to describe what I'm trying to describe. Like, it's a very specific palette that they use, but it's also very minimalist.
Mm-hmm.
And the colors are very like identifiable for what they're trying to go for.
Yeah, like all the shapes in it, you don't have any confusion of like, what is this or what is that? It, like, to me, it invokes a lot of like EDM colorways and like the things that you see like when you're watching a DJ perform EDM music, like a big name DJ, and like how they do the visuals on a screen in the background or like the colors that are illuminating the room. That's kind of like the vibe I get from the game. And like there's nothing in it that is like hard to tell, like what is that or whatever. Like you're for the most part you're collecting what, like heart shaped pieces and diamond shaped pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like super hard, but like even like the backgrounds and like the things that you are moving around, it's like it's easy to tell what it is. Like you're moving amongst buildings, or you're moving through a park, or you're moving along a highway, or like everything is like easy to identify.
And I think they do so much with so little, because we keep saying the word colorful, vivid, like neon, whatever, but there's only maybe 3 actual colors on screen at a time, and there's just like different shades of those same colors that make the full picture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they do like you 3 colors. They do a lot with a little. Like you're never like, what is that, or I'm not quite sure. And like even when they introduce like specific gameplay things, like when you have like the button timing sequences, or when they change the perspective, I never feel like anything gets lost in amongst the visuals. And they do like a lot with a little, like you said, where like you're 3 to 4 colors, and even you may go from a first person sequence to a over the shoulder sequence to a you're moving at the camera to a side scrolling to a top down, like, well, not top down, but like the VR sequences, and I never feel like I'm disoriented or like I don't know what's going on. And like one of the things too, this is like one of those games, like I'm not necessarily a photo mode person, but like this definitely could like you could literally like pause this game at any point, and if you could like move all the HUD stuff, like you would have like a beautiful like desktop screenshot for your computer wallpaper.
Let me tell you, I didn't really expect there to be too much of a difference between me playing this on Switch and PC, because like this game is very simplistic as far as like geometry and stuff, but playing that game with like the ultra high resolution or stuff, it's exactly like you were saying, man. It was insane. Also made the gameplay a lot easier, because I don't know if they adjusted like the draw distance or things were just that much cleaner, but
Can I say something, and I hope it's not blasphemous, because I don't know if you played the game, Dante, but we did for the podcast. It's like a colorful, vibrant like Kentucky Route Zero. I don't know if like I feel like there's like not that much like facial detail and everything, but like looking at the screenshots of like both these games, it's like it's similar art style. Granted, like Kentucky Route Zero went for a more drab, like I kind of feel like depressing color palette, and I feel like perspectives, and they have different things in the background, obviously. But I feel like the colors for this game very similar art style, but more like you said, bright, vibrant, lurid, neon kind of colors.
yeah, I haven't played it, but just looking at these screenshots, I can definitely see what you mean.
So along with the art style, I don't know if y'all like took particular time looking at the like the icons for each level. but like they're really cool.
Just like in the main menu, like the
Yeah,
kind of
because they all
vector
take,
style.
yeah, they all
line
take
art.
like the shape of a heart.
Huh.
Huh. Like, it's definitely interesting because it all fits in with the tarot reading theme of the game, definitely. And you can see like everything has this layer of not astrology, but what's the word I'm looking? Essentially, like it's based on the lunar calendar, or
Like
like
zodiac astrology.
the zodiac. Yeah, drawing a blank.
Oh yeah, with the riddles and everything too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Can I? Did the story land for you guys, or did you guys like? Did you guys feel the story? We don't necessarily have to go like beat by beat or anything like that, but like, did it do much for you guys?
It seemed like there's an intro, and then from there you kind of infer your own story. Mm-hmm. Because like Dante was saying in his intro, like the levels are meant to be played in chronological order, but I don't know. It seems like the levels are more so in acts. Like they're distinct acts. Let me see. I didn't count how many.
There was like a multiple heartbreak.
Yeah,
stages.
26 or 27, I'd like to say.
Yeah, so like maybe like every 8 levels or so, there's a different act. 8 or 9 levels. But I honestly couldn't follow it. Like I knew there was like you could infer a story from how the characters interact with each other during each level, but essentially what you're doing is, you're the protagonist and they're the antagonist. That's kind of what it boils down to, but you don't know like what their history is unless you kind of take their like use the context of like their outfits.
Like, I guess we should say, aside from the narrator, there's no voice acting. So it's not like the heroine meets up with this one antagonist and then they have this like cutscene where they're talking about their feelings or whatever.
Exactly.
It's just everything is inferred.
Yeah, it's like to me. Do you have like a interpretation, or do you have like a reading? I guess I would say of the story.
Oh, absolutely.
What about you, Trevor?
Not at all. And honestly, like before we started recording, I was just looking up, like once I asked y'all about the if y'all had ever had a tarot reading, I was looking up like what some of the cards meant, just to see if they could fill in the gaps of, oh yeah, this is what this character is. And when I looked them up on the wiki, like I got the names of each of the characters or the factions that you that you confront, and like they correspond to different tarot cards. So I guess I'd have to read each of those to see like the history behind that card to see if it kind of corresponds to. Yeah,
I'd like to say that this is kind of similar. It's kind of weird making this comparison specific because these games are completely opposite end of the spectrum, but Dark Souls storytelling, where it's very like ingrained in the environment and what you're doing and some of the lore around it rather than like it explicitly saying anything. So like when you go into a new location, the locations being every like let's say 7 or 8 levels like Trevor was saying, like you get Bittersweet Starway, Wowo Woods, Twilight Cry City, Desert of Doubts. So you're literally navigating this woman's emotions. And how do I say what I'm trying to say here? Like, it is definitely a journey of her through herself. The whole like tarot reading thing is just a kind of abstraction of that, or like a layer to make it a little bit more metaphysical.
The kind of I was going down a similar path as you, Trevor, trying to like, what actually is this story trying to represent? And I ran across like some posts on Reddit, and a lot of people had different interpretations of this game, and I don't think any of them were necessarily incorrect. And like kind of alluding to what Dante had said, like people were pointing out different things happening in the background or like not happening with the main characters, and it reminded me a little bit, maybe this is also another bad comparison, but like kind of like Gorogoa, where there's not a clear like this is what the creator is trying to tell you. It's up to the player or the viewer to kind of interpret and take from it what they will. So like some of the different readings I saw were the protagonist, the girl, was trying to get over multiple exes. There was also the interpretation of the protagonist trying to get over just a single ex. And then there was also the interpretation of the protagonist kind of being a trans person and seeing different, I don't know if the word is dysphoria, and like kind of like the way you see yourself as you are going through certain transformations. So like I saw like those three different interpretations and people saying like that's what they think was going on. 'Cause I think all of them looked like her, like all of them at some point in the game were stylized to be like look like her, maybe with just different like longer hair or like maybe a different part of her life or anything like that. So like I don't think any of them are like incorrect. It's just like really, it was really interesting to see like three different readings of the same game. Everybody played the same game but had three different takeaways from it, and like I felt like all of them like felt like, yeah, I could see that, or yeah, I could see that, or yeah, I remember this. So it's kind of like what details are you paying attention to will help like kind of inform how you perceive the story to be.
But I guess I will say, like, I think the details are there, and like, there's a lot of games, and I think we talked about Hotline Miami the other day, about like Hotline Miami and Katana Zero, where we're like, oh well, we don't know anything about these stories, and you kind of have to wait until a second playthrough to really get anything out of it. Where I don't feel like that's the case here. Like, even if we don't have like an objective truth, so to speak, about like what the story is telling, there is definitely enough there to infer certain things.
Definitely. Like,
and you can definitely like, I'm sorry, I was just gonna say that like the level names and stuff, you can tell like she's going through some stuff, and like it's a very small detail because you only see the little name of the level every time you enter a new area, and it's not even like, you know, it doesn't pop up full screen or whatever. It's just a little subtext. But especially on my second playthrough, I could tell, oh, well, she's dealing with this emotion right now, and this despair, and this sadness.
Yeah, and like honestly, like for me, like my read was like she was dealing with these emotions, and a lot of it was like just her coming to terms and dealing with accepting these things. And so at the end, when she was back at peace, is because she kind of accepted things for how they were. And that was like my take on it. So it was like really interesting. Like there would have been no way I'd have even something like that basic as saying acceptance for a game like Hotline Miami or Katana Zero, you know? So like I have a read of this story, and it may not be an accurate one, but at least I have like a general...
You have a takeaway.
Exactly, where that is not the case with those other two games. And it's not to say that they're bad or whatever, but like you said, there's a little bit more to draw from in this game. So even if we don't necessarily have like story beats that we want to talk about, it is not like in the same realm as those other two games.
Yeah, my read on it was actually close to... like what you were saying you saw online where somebody was saying it was about a trans person, because, you know, at the beginning the protagonist almost looks masculine, and then she goes through like a transformation before she like jumps into the rhythm part of the game, and then also there's a female symbol on her shirt.
Yeah.
So it made me think, you know, maybe there's some significance to that.
Mm-hmm. And just like all the characters in the game are masked as well. Mm-hmm. So you never like necessarily see their face. Did you ever catch who was the narrator? I remember seeing you talk about that in the group.
And it was it's funny because she was my first guess. Like when I wrote in the group and said, "Hey, this narrator sounds familiar."
You want to go ahead and say who it is?
It's Queen Latifah.
Okay.
and then later on, like when I kept hearing it, because that was only in like the longest part of the dialogue that you hear from her is in the intro narration, but then throughout the game you only hear her voice, like at the end of each level when she tells you like what rank you received for completing the level. Yeah, and it's funny because when I was listening to the soundtrack on Apple Music, every time the music ended, I would be expecting to hear like, dang, what rank did I get? But yeah, that's really the only lengthy dialogue that you get from Queen Latifah. So later on in the game, when I kept hearing her at the end of each level, I started thinking, maybe this is somebody else. Like I could tell it was a black female voice, and I was like, I know it's familiar.
Can't quite put a finger on it.
Exactly. And then finally in the credits it said Queen Latifah, and I was like, okay, yeah.
That's kind of like their last thing. It's like, by the way, we got her.
Yeah. And I looked it up online too, and I think that was like a last minute addition.
It was. That was actually a benefit of them partnering with Annapurna, because I think the story went, at least from what I read, was one of the main developers on the game's like, man, it'd be really cool if we could get Queen Latifah, and he just said it jokingly. And then sure enough, like, hey, you asked for this?
We got her.
Yeah. She also does have a significant narrative on the very last song, or I guess kind of like the epilogue, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So she does speak to you like twice.
Yeah, but other than that, like it's like either flavor where it's like it's almost kind of, it's gonna be stupid, but like the Man on the Moon when you're listening to those albums, and like every now and then the narrator will come in at like when it's like the next act, if you want to say, where they say like add a little flavor text and then you get the next vibe of the next couple songs on the album. It was almost like that with her in this game, which also kind of ties back to the whole pop album kind of thing, because it made me think of that. Something else I wanted to ask. Can't think of it now.
Oh, I did want to say one last thing, and this might be jumping ahead, but going back to the story thing, I will say, like, I definitely picked up more stuff the second time playing through than the first time, just because you kind of have the full context of everything. Mm-hmm. And I also want to say that last level, like, from a storytelling perspective, is incredible. It's borderline Braid levels for me.
As far as you talking about level design?
Like, not even level design, but like what it's trying to convey to you story-wise. Mm-hmm. Like, you remember Braid. In fact, we just talked about Braid for different reasons, but but the way it kind of very tightly ties the bow on the story they're trying to tell. Like, I don't want to get too much into like the story right now, but like the whole concept of self-acceptance and like moving on and stuff like that, that entire level, just narratively what it's doing is essentially kind of making the character okay with themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was really powerful the second time when I was playing through the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, should we just go ahead into the gameplay, I guess?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you do it.
All right. Well, as I said quite a few times, this game is on rails. It's also a very simple game, so you're navigating a stage, and the methods of navigation change stage to stage. And essentially, you're trying to collect hearts. Eventually, you get the gold cards as well, which there's a couple of those hidden per level. And you can also complete these hidden tarot questions or
riddles,
something like that.
Riddles.
Yeah, the riddles. Which those are very like level dependent. So you might have to get a very bad rank on a level or something to get, to complete
It's like
the riddle.
specific objectives that you need to do in order to. Do you know what you get when you do all the riddles?
I have no clue.
Okay, yeah, they're like just really one-off specific objectives per level. I think there's like 2 per level, and they could be something as simple as like skip the cutscenes on this level, or something like don't get a rank on this level, or collect all the gold cards across all the like it just very specific things that you have to do. But they don't give you the objective like that. It's like it's told in a riddle, and you have to decipher what you need to do in order to complete it.
Right. And I think that's really like commendable, just because one, they had to come up with the riddle in the first place, and then two, it's not like they just, okay, we finished the riddles for Claire de Lune, let's copy paste them for the other 26 levels.
Yeah.
So they're all very custom made. What else was I about to say? So you have an action button, which pretty much could be any face button on the controller, and you'll use that to do some combat sequences because you are fighting people occasionally, and also sometimes you have to, essentially get past a QTE of sorts, do a jump, whatever, and you just have to hit the button. So it's a very simplified game as far as like gameplay goes, but they abstract it out into a couple different mechanics. So just because one level might be like a 2D left-right type of ordeal, you might have another level where you're like flying on a dragon and you have to move, in 8 directions.
Yeah, and I really, like, when I first started playing this game, I was a little bit concerned because I was like, there's a lot of levels, and I played, I think it was the first 2 levels, and I really liked them, and then I played the 3rd level, and it kind of changed the perspective, and I didn't really care for it, and then they kept changing the perspective, and I was like, oh, I'm not really digging this, but then once I got into the flow of things, then it was, like, a lot easier for me to play. Normally when I play games like this, I try to play most games on Switch with the D-pad, but this was one of those few games where I had to play with the Joy-Con or with the joystick, because I just didn't have the fidelity that I needed, especially in some of those flying levels.
That's fair.
This was like maybe the first or second. I think this maybe is the second game I've played in handheld mode on Switch where I was just like, yeah, I got to use this joystick.
I was about to ask, did you guys do handheld mode or did you guys do docked for
handheld?
Yeah, handheld.
Okay. See, this is another one of those games, and I know I say this a lot. I'm like, I can't even fathom how you do that. Just because the music is so integral, and it does have the speakers, but
I'm gonna be honest. I think I've maybe played less than 5 times. I've played docked mode.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you played it with the sound off.
Oh no!
I was like, hey, y'all talked about
when we
me.
were talking initially, I thought he was actually playing with the sound off at one point. I was like, "Are you sure?"
Nah, I play with my headphones in. I play with usually when it's a game that I have to have the sound going, like I need to hear it. Then I usually play with headphones on, so I'm not disturbing my wife or whatever. So
yeah, I play with my headphones on because I play this in bed, before going to sleep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I was saying, like I was bad gamer Marcus right here. Come a little closer. Come a little closer. When I first started this game, I didn't like it. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't know if you mentioned this, Dante, but you're basically you're being scored in this game, and so you're collecting these diamonds and these hearts, and you're getting a score. And to me, I would say I went through about half the game not understanding the scoring system because it's never really explained. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but it was really like me being like who I am. Like, I'm a completionist, and I was like, I want to get the gold rank. I want to get the gold rank. And this was one of those games where it's not based off of combat, so it wasn't like
Right, and I also know you, and I know you would have taken like kind of slight offense, being like, "How dare you give me a silver rank? I know
Yep.
I got all those things."
Yep. So I was not having a lot of fun when I first was playing this game because I was striving to get all gold ranks. So like, if I would get a silver rank, I would just keep playing the level over and over and over and over again until I got a gold.
So, do you want me to explain like how the scoring?
I know
works?
now. I know now. It just
I know you know, but I think what you said was a very fair criticism because I didn't know until I think it was Begin Again was the song because that one's kind of longer than most of the songs, and I was wondering, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm getting most of the stuff. I'm only like dying once maybe in the level.
Yeah. You can explain it then.
Yeah. So essentially, how it works is you have these little hearts that you collect as far as getting points. Each heart gives you a certain amount of points, but each subsequent heart that you get increases the value of, I guess, the value of points you're getting per heart by like 5 or 50. I can't remember. It's some increment. And the second you die, which you can fall off a ledge, you can run into something, somebody can hit you with something, that multiplier resets. So the goal or the overall like best way to do things is try to keep your combo as long as possible. Ideally you keep it through the entire thing, but it's a lot different if you lose your combo, like at the very beginning of the level or the very end of the level versus like the middle of the level. So, let's say you had 100 combo streak or whatever, you died halfway through the level. That's going to hurt you a lot more because your entire multiplier resets because you're technically getting like, an increment for each heart you get. Versus like, if you drop the combo very late in the level, it's not even going to matter because, I've already got gold rank, so even if it does reset me back to like getting 50 points per heart or whatever, I'm still going to make it.
Mm-hmm. Did you understand the scoring, Trevor, when you were playing it?
Not really. It was more so just collect as many hearts as you can. Don't crash.
Yeah, right. And it's stupid because it's like it's a dumb complaint, but it was just like I didn't know. Like I think I told Dante, like, I think one of the levels was like, oh, you needed 40,000 points in order to get gold rank. And like the first time I played it, I got 38,000. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not that far off. I just need to do a little bit better and collect a couple more things, and then I'm good to go. And then like literally the next 2 times I played, I was getting like 25 and 26,000. I'm like, how the hell, like, am I doing worse? I'm collecting everything. I didn't realize that you got your combo modifier basically reset when you died. And I was getting a little bit salty then because I was like, how is anybody supposed to know the route or the way to play this level? Like, because I think it was like the what is the boss level? Is it Begin Again or Dead of Night?
Yeah, that's the one with the first person motorcycle.
Wolf. Yeah,
that one took me a long time.
And it's just kind of like there were so many things going on some of these levels. The ones that I was struggling with the most were any of the ones that were timing based, where you had to focus on the hitting the action button at the right time and also collecting hearts at the same time. Where you had to like it was a little bit of multitasking that I just wasn't really like expecting from the game, so I wasn't in that mindset, so it took me a while to get to that point. And then any ones where it was like a super long level where it was like, okay, I can play this first 3 sections flawlessly. I have a little bit of a hairy time when it comes to the 4th or 5th section, and then if I pass those and it's smooth sailing, and of course I always die at least once in the 4th or 5th section, my modifier gets reset, and then I'm like, crap, it's like not even worth playing out the rest of this level because I'm not going to gold rank it or whatever. And I I was struggling a lot in the beginning because I was like fighting the game and like, this is not cool, this is not fair. Like, how am I supposed to know where to go on my first run of this level or my second run or third run? Like, you know, this game is moving so fast that I don't really know like when I can even try to do like a shortcut or whatever, because you're moving on rails, and a lot of times I feel like the game was moving so fast that it was just like unfair.
So the thing that you kind of learn, and it's on your favorite level. I can't even think of the name of it, Marcus.
My favorite level is the world we know. We knew.
The one with the snaps, right?
My favorite one, well, that was the parallel universe.
Yeah, that was
Parallel universe.
That
Okay,
one was
sorry.
cool. No, the VR one was my favorite level.
Okay, cool. Well, on the parallel universes world, it does this very interesting mechanic where, essentially, the antagonist is kind of like snapping their fingers
To the beat of the music.
To the beat of the music, and the entire landscape in front of you switches every time they snap. And at first, I was kind of overwhelmed by that level because I'm like, how am I supposed to memorize all of this stuff? And then I realized I don't need to be memorizing. I need to be looking ahead and kind of just plotting my route, because the game will intrinsically navigate you to success if you let it.
Yeah. And that was, I think, talking to you too, one of the things is like, when I was first playing this game, I had the music going, but I wasn't listening to the music, if that makes any sense. And so, like, when I was having issues, because another thing I was having issues with was the timing of the hitting the action button, which is really stupid because, you know, we were just talking about music games and, like, how we have background with all these. And I felt like the timing of hitting the button was off. For, like, I was hitting the button when it filled in, but I wasn't getting the full amount of points. And that was irking me so much. But when Dante was like, you need to listen to the music and do it in time with the music, and then I was like, okay, this makes sense. Then my next question was, why can't I calibrate it so it works better? But,
So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so it's a little different than what we're used to. So
Exactly.
Rock Band and all of those games, they don't... Actually, all goes back to DDR when I think about it. Like, back in the day, music games used to time you on your timing of the hit.
Yes.
Where, like, DDR had miss, near miss, good, perfect, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Most music games have gotten rid of that since then. For the action inputs in this game specifically, they kind of go back to the DDR mentality. But the thing about it is, we're so accustomed from Rock Band, like, we know we have to do, like, a, you know, thrill across the fret or whatever of the fretboard.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hit microseconds before, like, it actually completely fills in. This game encourages you to wait until it fills in, and then there's actually, like, a really hefty window after that. So if you just, like, let the beat complete and then, like, give it, like, 0.1 seconds, you're guaranteed to get it perfect. So I've learned, like, oh, I'm hitting everything early. Let me wait until I know it's perfect in my mind, give it, like, another 0.1 seconds, and then hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that all sounds good in theory, but then when you get to that level where there's like 4 or 5 of those back to back, and you have
And you miss one?
Yeah. And then, especially, I think it's one of the forest levels where you're jumping.
When you're on the deer?
Yeah, you're trying
I
to
hated
jump.
that level.
You're trying to time your jump and time the press to get perfects on each one.
And you're collecting gems.
And even one of the jumps you have to intentionally miss if you want to get the gold.
Yep. Yeah, it took a little bit to, like, get used to that, and it wasn't ideal, but, like, once you get it, then it makes sense. But it was just like a matter of, like, oh, this is, like, not how I'm used to things, and I just have to get used to it. I have to adapt. And once I adapted, then it was fine. But it was, like, a while where I was stuck on, like, that level with the deer and the Dead of Night level where it was just like, what the crap? Like, I'm hitting it, and I'm not, you know, getting the right score, and it's, like, getting so focused and, like, annoyed with that. And like I said, any level where there was like action sequences, like a timing based, and you also had to be collecting things at the same time was a little bit tricky for me. And then at a certain point, like just talking to Dante, I was like, I just need to like listen to the music and not worry about like what's going on the screen. When it comes to like making sure I hit it once I saw like an action sequence pop up, I was like, okay, I need to listen to the music and not look at the visual, which is really counterintuitive, but it like really helped me out.
And you got, I don't want to say stuck, but I know you were having problems with the one level where you're fighting the 3 girls at the same time or 3 women at the same time.
Yeah.
Because that one is very like action based oriented or whatever, like or QTE oriented, if you will.
Yeah, I guess kind of going back to the levels though, like I didn't really care for the timing based sequences, but other than that, like I think I really liked the back half of the game. I think every level minus the car level I really enjoyed.
I think for me my enjoyment was pretty consistent. I might even say like if I'm replaying stuff I'd probably replay the first half more than the back half, aside from a couple sets of songs.
So like for me, like I had a couple. Like I had, what is your favorite level? And I know you had one. I don't know if you did, Trevor.
I liked the levels whenever you were like shooting in front of something in front of you.
Oh really?
Yeah, like the one with a 3-headed robot dog.
Oh, so
okay.
that was the Dead of Night, the boss level?
I think so.
Yeah, and then there was also the level close to that where you're fighting the wolves and you have to shoot the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Laser Love, I think, was another one.
I like those, and of course, Parallel Universe. Like that mechanic was, along
really
with
cool.
the music, was perfect. But like Dante, I think throughout the game, I think my reaction to a lot of the levels was pretty consistent. It wasn't overwhelming or anything, but it was okay. There were just a few standout levels.
What about you, Dante?
So I'm just going through this list. So Begin Again was definitely like one of my favorites because that was kind of like the first long level, and it definitely had like these sequences that were really cool and like hyper stylized. And I really like the cinematography of this game, which I know we've talked about the art a lot, but just like the certain shots they have and how they capture like the momentum of you being on the bike and chasing after these people and stuff like that. I think they do a really good job of that. I like the, oh my gosh, what was the one with the robot dog thing?
Dead of Night.
Dead of Night. That one's good. The Forest Dub one's pretty interesting, where you're
Yep.
going through the mushrooms and.
Oh yeah.
Did you actually run into one of the mushrooms?
I did not.
I did.
Oh. Do. Got that Mario going.
Yeah.
I like those two. There was a couple of the subspace worlds that were pretty cool. Obviously, the blinking one that we've talked about. And I really like the last level, Wild Hearts Never Die, even though it's very, very difficult.
That one was like, I enjoyed replaying that one. Like I actually ended up trying to go back and gold everything, and I did. I was able to do that. So my method of like, I'm not going to go to the next level until I gold it. I was hard headed, and I stuck with that throughout the whole game, and I was able to like gold every level. And that level was. It was a pleasure to replay. I know for me, I really like that see, the thing is with me, it was levels that I liked because of music, but then there was levels I liked because of moments.
Yes.
And so, like, probably my favorite level, like I said, was The World We Knew, which was it was the VR kind of level. It reminded me a lot of Geometry Wars. And I really liked that level. I also really liked, I think it was Reverie, where you're moving down like an alleyway, and there's these pieces coming at you, and you have to like shift your body in order to avoid the pieces as you're going. But then, and like the levels you guys said, like I did like the snapping parallel universe level as well, and the Dead of Night was interesting once I got used to it in Forest Dub. But then there was levels where there was moments where I was just like, I could literally play this thing for forever, and like it's so like satisfying. And like for me, the last level when you're flying, at the very end when you're flying through those rings as the dragon, was so cool. I really, 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 really like sailing. So when you were on that boat and going over those waves and avoiding those whirlpools, and I like those two parts for me were like,
I'm getting goosebumps,
dude. I don't know why, but it was like so satisfying. Yeah.
So you mentioned Claire de Lune. Did you like that level as well?
I just like Claire de Lune. I just freaking love that song, and so like hearing a
and they kind of use it as like a metaphor throughout the game too, because it appears in a couple different places, if I recall.
Mm-hmm. But like I just really like that song, and so hearing a kind of poppy electro kind of style remix of it was just really cool. I did replay the level, and like before we hopped on here, and the levels really is cool too. It's not necessarily standout for me besides the music.
I think it's standout in the fact that like things come full circle. So after you do that like dragon sequence at the end of the last level, you end up back at Claire de Lune. You know, so I thought that was real. Like everything kind of comes full circle in this game.
And then like for me, things that like. Because I had, what is your favorite level, least favorite level? What is your favorite moment, least favorite moment? And for me, it's like my favorite levels kind of correspond with like the things that, like music that I really like. But my favorite moments were like things that I could like just do this forever. And it was like flying on that dragon and the sailboat part. I just really, really enjoyed those. And they were so satisfying. And I was like, damn, I wish these sequences were longer.
Yeah, I think I had a similar thought of like, I wish the levels were longer. Like, because I know there is it's like a medley type level that you unlock, or I don't know if you unlock it once you finish the game, but if you look under extras, like you can play through the entire album, and I think it's in one go. But I wish some of the levels were like that, where you could kind of play it arcade style, where it's almost never ending and the difficulty kind of ramps up. Just so you can keep listening to the music.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that about the extras. That's cool. I might have to try that out.
Yeah, they definitely have like an endless mode that
that's what it is.
Completes or keeps your score between levels and whatnot. So,
did you guys have any least favorite levels or least favorite moments?
I kind of like. I don't like the car level. That was like by far my least favorite level in the original playthrough. Mm-hmm. This time it wasn't that bad. I was like, well, this is just kind of like a neutral thing. I don't really feel one way or the other about it.
Was the reasoning why? Because it was for me. It felt like
it doesn't control well.
Yeah, you went from having like something that was a little bit more tightly controlled, and then this one level is like, nope, we're not going to give you the controls that you're used to, and. It's not bad per se. It's just different enough that it's just kind of a little off-putting.
I'll tell you what. I gained more respect for it when I realized that drifting increases your score. So, like, at least from a mechanical standpoint, like, they're encouraging you to do something like, or encouraging you to use the mechanic. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of neat.
Later on in the game, I didn't realize that you got bonuses for near misses. Mm-hmm. And so, like, it made me think of, like, playing, like, Burnout, like, where you'd have, like, driving into oncoming traffic and everything. And I was just like, oh, like, they had this thing in this game the entire time. One of the levels for me was that transonic gravity. That level was really fun, but it was, like, very, very hectic. And, like, it was the one where you were constantly teleporting to the track above you.
Oh, yeah.
Where that guy is with electricity, and that level was kind of hectic. Like, I enjoyed the music, and it was fun, but it was just hectic. And, like, for me, I think the levels, like the car levels and any motorcycle level where you had to hit, like, the the little thing in order to turn.
Yeah.
I didn't like those levels because I felt like those levels, it was less about... I didn't enjoy the levels where it was about memorization, where it was just like you just had to be in the right place at the right time in order to do well on it your first time, and then after that it's just memorizing the pattern, which I guess technically every level's like that, but those ones it felt especially like that, where you couldn't
I feel like this game's pretty good about like not punishing you for not knowing. Like, there's very few cases where you actually like capital F fail for not knowing things, but you won't get a perfect without knowing a couple things here and there.
But like I felt like especially on those levels, it was just kind of like, you had to play this a couple times in order to get the pattern down.
Yeah, because there's literally no way you could have known to turn here, because they'll give you like, okay, here's a left ramp and a right ramp, and one of them will have like the gold card or whatever, and then the other one just won't have anything. So you can't do those in like one playthrough.
Yeah.
So that's completely fair. I know you didn't like Dead of Night upon like your initial playthrough. Did you turn on that at some point?
It just honestly, it was just kind of constantly replaying it because I was like, I had to keep replaying it in order to, in my mind, get to the next level. I had to gold it. So and like that was one of those levels where I liked the music. I just didn't like playing the level, and it was mostly like the parts where you were the deer, and I didn't really like any of the ones where you were in first person mode or on the motorcycle and shooting at things ahead of you, because like I was trying to be elusive, and like what would happen on those levels is I'm shooting something, I kill something ahead of me, and then I'm trying to kill the other ones in the other lane, and I just end up missing all the gems of the thing I killed, and that screwed me over a lot.
Yeah. They can also be a little busy too, like when you're shooting ahead of you and then there's stuff like coming towards you.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell, like, oh, well, is this a bullet? Is this the enemy that I'm trying to shoot?
Yeah.
Or is this my bullet?
Yeah.
But I will say one of my favorite moments in this game is the beginning of Dead of Night when you're in that first-person motorcycle.
I didn't like that.
Oh, man, I love it. It's... Trevor, are there any, like, standout moments or, like, you know, valleys?
I have to disagree with y'all about the car level.
Oh snap!
It's fine.
I enjoyed that one. That was probably the first level I got gold on, or at least that I replayed until I got gold. Parallel universes, just that mechanic was pretty cool. I kept playing that one because I wanted to do it perfectly. I think I mentioned before, the only level I really didn't like was the one where you have to jump and you have to time it. I think you're on the deer. Yeah, you're on the deer and you have to.
Yeah. Like did you guys like Reverie? The one where you're going down that alleyway and it's like in first person and it's like VR kind of looking.
Is that an alleyway? I just assume like I saw the Tetris shapes and stuff.
It's the one where it makes me think of did you ever play Contra, the original Contras?
A long time ago.
It makes me think of when you're in that mode where you're fighting the things on the walls. I don't know how to do it. Anyways, I really enjoyed that level. I really enjoyed that level.
I think we're talking about the same level, but at the same time I just don't see an alleyway. Like when I look at it, it reminds me of the original Star Fox for Super Nintendo.
Yeah. You're moving down like a highway. Yeah. When I say alleyway, I'm just thinking like you're just moving straight forward down a path, not alleyway like the actual game alleyway, if that's what you're...
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Where things are kind of like 3D-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
In first person, yeah. Like all the VR levels I really enjoy, or all the levels that were like VR aesthetic I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm just now realizing all of these are Tetris pieces.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Like ultimately, this game was all right. I don't think we have anything else. Any other questions or anything else we want to call out? Are you going to Are either of you guys going to mess with the riddle stuff or?
I might actually go back and do the riddles because I say I 100% of the game, but I did not finish the riddles.
Yeah, that's kind of same with me. What about you, Trevor?
Yeah, I'll probably go back and play around with it because I didn't know about it until you mentioned it.
Yeah, like I think I told Dante it's probably no different than like the bonus stuff in Hotline Miami, the stamps and everything. It's like it's not necessarily crucial, but it's just like a little extra thing that you can do, and I'm interested to know what you can get. What happens when you collect everything? So I probably will do them too. So, Trevor, great game, great experience.
I'll say great game, amazing soundtrack.
Okay. I'll take it.
Okay. I was expecting him to say something completely different. Then I'm like, why do you feel that way? You didn't say anything before. Yeah. You were expecting it too, Dante?
Yeah, he definitely he sold it that time.
Yeah,
he sold it real well.
What about you, Dante?
Great game, amazing experience for me personally.
Okay, and then I think I would echo that. Great game. Oh, I'll say great game, great experience. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Like that's still good.
Yeah.
This is my number one game we've played this year. So.
Oh snap! I gotta think about that for a second.
We're in January.
I also did the other game for January.
This is my favorite game that we've played and talked about on the podcast.
Okay.
For 2021.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah. So I definitely, I guess we all can say this is a game people should check out. Do you guys think this is like a worthy, like a... Would you guys play other music games like this, or do you think this is just like a one-off experience, or how do you guys feel about that?
I think it's a good intro to music games. I don't think it's 100% a rhythm game. I think, like when I think of rhythm games, I do think of like Rock Band and Guitar Hero and
Highways,
DDR. Yeah, exactly. Whereas this one has like a soundtrack to it. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be real cool to see more games like this, like maybe with different genres. Mm-hmm. Like imagine playing a game like this to G Unit or something,
a coming of age story about Kendrick Lamar.
Good kid, Mad City, and you're just driving the.
So yeah, I
took
think
a
that'd
left,
be
then
cool.
a right, then another left.
It's me with the homies.
Queen Latifah narrating, "Homie, where's you from?"
I'm interested. I would like to try to see if I can get. My wife is not a video game player, and I think I may have said it when we talked about it then. Like I was going to try to see if I can get her to play What Remains of Edith Finch, but I think this game might be a little bit easier to grasp.
Fair.
So, because I think that game is. She just has to get used to the controls, but like I feel like this game is even just something you can just literally put in her hands, especially being on Switch and everything too. Where she can, like, sit on the couch.
It's on phones, isn't it? Well, it has to be because it's on the on Apple phones.
But I would just have her play it on Switch or something, and like she doesn't have to worry about. I mean, like you said, it's just the joystick and the action button, so that's about it. So, see if I can get her to try it.
Yeah. For me, I'm definitely waiting for that second album to drop. I feel like there is a lot of potential with a sequel.
Has there been one announced or?
No.
Oh.
So far, from what I can tell about the developer, like every single game they've put out has been unique, and I'm really curious about that Device 6 game because people seem to really like it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you guys got anything else for Sayonara Wild Hearts? All right. Well, where can people find you at, Trevor?
You can find me online at Lyric Unsung.
Where can people find you at, Dante?
People can find me at twitch.tv/awakencloud. I've been streaming a lot of interesting games lately. I won't say which ones.
Had some developers or anything?
Yeah, I actually had a developer from Ubisoft check out one of the games I was playing because allegedly it's one of his favorite games of all time. That and the sequel to it, and it was interesting getting his thoughts on the game.
Cool. And you can find me on. Are you? You're not streaming anything, Trevor, are you?
Not at the moment.
Do you have any intentions in the near future? I feel like I ask you and Greg.
Yeah, it's mostly me just trying to catch up on games rather than stream anything that's worth other people, wasting their time watching.
And are you at any point going to try to figure out how to do stuff on Switch or nah?
Probably not, because I honestly think there might be like limited technology for the Switch Lite is in terms of like getting it to stream. I don't know, because at least with the regular Switch, you still have you can dock it and then plug other peripherals into the TV, I think, or whatever monitor you're using. But I don't think that accessibility is there for the Switch Lite. I could be wrong, but I haven't looked into it.
You can find me on Twitter at Potato Salad. If you like tuning in to Mixed Checkpoints to find out about hidden gems, cult classics, and indie games, and share us with your friends, family, and not shitty subreddit communities you're in. Comment on our Facebook page. Add us on Twitter. Leave us a review, preferably 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, so we can appear higher in the leisure category. Yeah, we like hearing from you guys. Whether it be in the chat, telling us in person, shooting us messages on our various pages. If you know us, texting us or whatever. I've had a couple of friends message me and say, "Hey, like, I listened to this episode. I really liked it," or like, asking like, "When are you guys going to talk about this game?" or stuff like that. So it's always cool to hear. So we appreciate it.
When are you gonna release Dragon Ball Z Fighter Story mode? Sorry.
No, you're
I'm sorry if that was you. Please keep listening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, this is going to be. I think we did 5 the past 2 years. Maybe we could shoot. I don't think we have a number this year for how many bonus casts we want to do, but it's. I think Trevor, I said you can choose next. So
is it 5? Because we're on number 13 now. So.
Well, I was saying per year.
Oh, okay.
I remember like that first year we did like 1 or 2, and then I was like, I'm gonna make it our goal for 2019 to do 5, and we did. And then we didn't have a goal last year, and we did 5. So I'm like, well, we can that could be the magic number. Maybe we can go higher. Maybe we can go lower. So.
You already got 1 out the way, and it's only January.
Yeah. So we'll see, but it's Trevor's choice next time. So we'll see what he has us play. So.
Might try to get in some Pokemon Snap since they announced the release date for the sequel.
Oh, we already know it's going to be something on Switch. So. But yeah, with that, we're Missed Checkpoints. We're out. Peace.